All right, let's make this 6 simple machines. We don't actually have to make all 6 of them. There's a few, like we're not gonna do wheel and axle, and you don't really need to print a lever. So first, let's do a screw. So in order to do a screw, you have to go out of basic shapes, and we're gonna go down into shape generators. And there's one that looks like a long coil, this one. So I'm gonna put this in, and I've messed around with the sizes to figure out what would actually hold a marble. So we're going to go 90 by 90 with a height of 180. Now, you're not actually going to print something this big. This is just to help you make the template. And also remember, 90 by 90 means 9 centimeters by 9 centimeters. Okay, so what we do here is I'm going to copy paste this. I'm going to make the other one a hole, and I'm going to align these two. Okay, so they're aligned. Now I have the one that's a hole. I'm going to raise it up 8. I'm going to highlight and group. Okay, so we've made a screw. The only thing is we don't want to make it that tall. So now I'm going to go back to basic shapes. I'm going to take this box that's a hole. I'm going to make this pretty big. And basically big enough to just surround everything. And then I'm going to raise it so that, let's say I raise it about 90. And then I'm going to highlight and group. And what that did is that now chopped that screw down. So it's really just one turn. I'm going to bring this down to the plate, so 0. And just to make it a little bit safer of a print, I'm going to take a cylinder and I'm going to give it a really small height, let's say 4. And I'm going to make the cylinder big enough to just fit around the bottom of the screw, just to make it basically will help make the base a lot more printable. So I do that, and then I'm going to group it. All right, so that's screw. I'm going to put this off into the corner. And what next? Next, there's one that's really easy, and that's wedge. And there's literally something called wedge. So I wouldn't change the angle of anything, because when you place it on, it's going to be perfect. Basically, you with your group need to figure out how big of a wedge you want. And remember that these are in millimeters. So most people, the normal wedge that shows, most people actually like a wedge that's a little bit longer, but you need to figure that out with your group. So if you plan on covering something that's maybe a hole underneath the wedge and it's 4 centimeters, then making something 46 would make sense because it's a little bit bigger than the hole that it's covering. You can affect the height. I would make it like about marble height, which I believe is 10 by 10. So, I'll make it 15. See what width we got. And this is all entirely up to you with how big you actually make it. It depends on what your needs and what the wedge's function is. Also, when you print it, please don't actually write the words. That's just going to take up space on the plate. Okay, so we have screw, we have wedge. Let's do pulley. Pulley is an interesting one. So first we have to make the actual pulley itself. Let's see. I'll make this 30 and 30. And same thing with a pulley. You want to do this based on your sizing needs. So I did 30 by 30 with a height of 45. Okay. Now I'm going to take torus. So this was 30 by 30. I'm going to make torus 40 by 40. Let's see what height. Maybe let's go height 10. I'm just guessing at 40 by 40. I'm hoping that this works. Then you take the torus. I'm going to take this with the cylinder I have. I'm going to press a line. I'm going to press the middle for all of them. All right, let's see how this one works. And that's pretty good. Okay, so that would print. Now it's not functional yet. What you really need, you got to go back into basic shapes. I'm going to make This is 20 by 20. That should probably be fine. I'm actually going to make it 15 by 15. I'm going to make this a hole. I'm going to align it with the pulley. Good, now it has a hole through, so now you could put the string through that groove, and then we have the hole, which is what we need to kind of put an axle through now. Remember, that was 15 by 15. So I'm going to make something a little smaller, but close in size, so 12 by 12. And you want this to be taller. Okay, so something maybe like this, just as long as it's taller than the actual pulley itself. And what sometimes helps, if you wanted to really make sure everything's working out, I'm going to put a cylinder 20 by 20, height of 5 at the bottom of this. So 20 by 20 will make sure that the axle doesn't go through the actual insert. So here, center group. Okay, so that will end up functioning as our pulley. And then we have our wedge. We have our screw. So wheel and axle, pulley, lever, wedge, inclined plane you're not going to print. And let's see some old videos and see if I made another simple machine. Just want to get these all in one fell swoop of a video rather than have a couple other shared videos. Okay, so what are we not printing? We're not printing wheel and axle. We're not printing an inclined plane. I did make a wheel and axle video, but we don't really need that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Those three things should get you everything that you need. And if you wanted to do a wheel and axle, I would just recommend purchasing a Hot Wheels car with the $20 from your budget. So that is it. You can adjust the height of the screw as needed. It'll just be a more, if you go taller, it'll just be a sharper dissension. I wouldn't really go much shorter than what I suggested. Like I said, make sure that your wedge is adjusted to your sizing needs, and then pulley, that'll be functional pretty much for everybody. All right.